Have you ever been there? I mean, really been in that incredibly tough spot where someone you care about, maybe deeply, has hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through all the pain, the difficulty. You maybe even find it in you to forgive them. Perhaps you even give them another
You
chance.
open your heart again.
Exactly. And then, just when you think maybe things are different, they do it again.
Mm.
It's such a complicated mess, isn't it? Emotions, trust, and often this really profound disappointment that just hits differently the second time around.
It really does.
So today, on the deep dive, we're going to try and unpack that. What does it really mean to forgive? How can apologies sometimes be, well, incredibly misleading? And maybe the most crucial part, when is the kindest thing you can do actually putting your own well-being first?
That's right. And this isn't about, just abstract ideas or textbook stuff. This deep dive is really about understanding some very personal, often quite painful experiences that, let's face it, so many of us go through. We've been digging into some really insightful wisdom from this powerful YouTube video. It's from the channel Concarela Contandadian, which translates beautifully to awaken your inner giant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And specifically, their video called, which basically means stop giving people a second chance.
Okay, so our mission today is to dive deep into those insights. We want to help you, our listeners, understand the real nuances here. Forgiveness, trust, that sometimes really difficult act of self-preservation.
Absolutely.
Hopefully by the end of our chat, you'll walk away feeling not just informed, but genuinely empowered to handle these kinds of challenges in your own life. So let's start with forgiveness itself. We hear it all the time, don't we? Forgive and forget. Let it go. It's good for you.
It's the script.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels like this societal pressure almost, compelling us to forgive, even when maybe deep down it just hurts too much or doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Be the bigger person.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really behind that push? And could there actually be a hidden danger in always forgiving?
Well, it's so important to start by saying, look, forgiveness in itself, it isn't inherently wrong, not at all. It's part of being human, right? We all mess up. We have emotional slips. We genuinely fall short sometimes.
Sure.
So when someone wrongs us, the act of forgiving them isn't automatically bad. But, and this is the really crucial part from the source, it can become a psychological trap.
A trap. How does something that sounds so positive, so healing, turn into a trap?
It happens when we apply it in situations where it's just not appropriate. Think about forgiving someone who shows zero genuine remorse.
Right.
Or someone who isn't making any real effort to change their behavior. Or maybe someone who just seems to want to continue a cycle that's harming you.
Okay.
Often the video points out, we give that forgiveness because we hoped so much they would change. We, clung to that idea.
Yeah, that hope is powerful.
It is. But then, time and again, their actions just prove we shouldn't have given that chance. And the result, we end up hurting even more because we let ourselves be vulnerable to the exact same pain again.
Oh, I can just feel that. I bet so many people listening can relate. You tell yourself, okay, I'm forgiving to end this, or I just want peace, or maybe, like you said, I don't want to seem unkind. But what's the actual cost? The real cost of holding back how you truly feel? What's the burden of just enduring that repeated hurt?
Well, the problem with just silently putting up with it, holding back your real feelings, forgiving just because you feel you should, it's not real freedom. It's not liberation.
Right.
You're essentially pushing yourself to tolerate an unsustainable amount. And slowly, almost without noticing, it pushes you further and further from where you maybe should have drawn a line, or maybe even walked away completely. The source really drives home this truth. Forgiveness is fundamentally about releasing your pain, your own pain. It's not about giving someone else permission to hurt you again.
Wow. Okay, that's a really powerful way to frame it. So it's internal. It's for us, it's releasing the burden we're carrying.
Yeah.
Not like opening the door and saying, come on back in, do it again.
Exactly. Precisely. The key takeaway here, really, is that true forgiveness, it doesn't automatically mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean you have to stay in the same relationship. And it absolutely doesn't mean you have to give another chance.
Okay.
It's an internal thing for your own heart, a way to find your internal peace. It's not something you do to make the other person feel better or to just wipe the slate clean for them.
That distinction feels incredibly important. And it kind of leads us to this subtle danger the source points out.
Yeah.
The danger of mixing up forgiveness with just letting everything go back to how it was. back to normal.
Right.
Because if things just snap back, well, what about the apology? The I'm sorry we might have gotten. Does that even matter then?
So we've talked about forgiveness being for us. Now let's shift to the apology itself. There's a real pull to an apology, isn't there?
Right.
Especially when it's from someone you cared about, maybe still care about, someone you had hopes for. It can make you feel like, okay, they heard me. It sparks that little bit of hope again.
Yeah.
You might even start to believe, okay, they really care, or they're genuinely trying to fix the damage.
And this feels like where it gets really tricky. Because an apology can sound so good, but the core problem, according to the source, is putting too much weight on just the words. What's a fundamental issue there?
Well, the video puts it so bluntly. An apology, in reality, is just words. Just words. And it goes on to say, look, no matter how sincere those words sound in the moment, they cannot change the past, nor can they guarantee the future.
Right. That makes sense.
Think about it. Our world is full of people who apologize again and again. Maybe they even cry, show huge sorrow right then.
Yeah, the dramatic apology.
Exactly. Only to go right back to the same old habits once the emotion of the moment fades. They say sorry, but the behavior, totally unchanged.
That's such a critical point, that nuance. The apology might come from, like, a sudden feeling, or maybe they're just scared of losing you.
Right. Fear-based.
But it's often, as the source says, not from a genuine intention to change. So, okay, if an apology is just words, what does real change look like? What should we actually be looking for?
True change, according to these insights, doesn't happen because of regret. It happens from a deeper place, from realizing that one has caused someone pain and never wanting it to happen again.
Ah, okay. So it's a real shift in understanding and commitment, not just a feeling.
Exactly. And that's why certain apologies just don't lead anywhere. We're talking about the ones made just to resolve the situation quickly, get things back to normal.
Sweep it under the rug?
Pretty much. Or the ones made simply because they fear losing us, but without any real grasp of what they did wrong or any genuine plan to grow. They just want things to go back to the way they were without doing the hard work.
So what does the work look like?
Well, true change involves real shifts. In behavior, obviously. In how they communicate. A new respect for your boundaries. Better emotional control, maybe?
Could you give some examples?
Sure. Like, someone who always hurt you with words might actually learn to listen. Maybe even start asking how you feel, unprompted. Someone who neglected your feelings might start showing they care, initiating things without you having to ask. A liar might become transparent, really valuing honesty. Someone who broke promises starts to treasure trust above everything. It's tangible stuff.
Okay, so it's not just a switch flipped overnight, but it has to start right away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If someone says sorry, but then carries on exactly the same life, same actions, instantly they haven't changed.
Right.
The apology was just a tool, a quick fix, not a real starting point.
Precisely. And this loops right back to that core idea we talked about. We forgive to release ourselves from pain, not to give someone the right to hurt us again. An apology without action, without clear intent, without better communication, without taking real responsibility.
Yeah.
It's empty, completely hollow. It just sets you up for the same pain again.
It really makes you pause and think. Have you ever dealt with someone who apologizes so much you practically know the script by heart, yet nothing ever actually changes?
Oh, yeah.
This deep dive really helps us see that, our lives are too valuable to be left to empty words. We deserve relationships built on consistent, caring actions. Okay, so this brings us to what might be, honestly, the hardest part for a lot of people. Finding the courage to actually cut ties. The video makes such a powerful statement here. It says, the person who dares to cut ties is the one who truly loves themselves. Now, that doesn't mean being heartless, does it? Or just, someone whose feelings turn off easily.
Not at all. No, it's about something much deeper. It's about understanding, truly understanding that love should never cost you your dignity.
Right.
It shouldn't mean endlessly tolerating behavior that just chips away at who you are, or carrying the suppressed guilt that builds up over time. The point is, even if love is still there, undeniably present, if a relationship is consistently causing harm, stealing your joy, eroding your confidence, or making you lose yourself bit by bit, it needs to stop. It has to stop.
That's incredibly hard to accept, though, especially when there are deep connections, right? Shared history, maybe kids, all those hopes you had for the future that seemed so real once.
It is incredibly hard, and the insides acknowledge that difficulty, but they also frame the choice very starkly. When you're basically forced to choose stay and keep losing more of yourself, or walk away to protect what's left of your heart. Well, choosing to cut ties proves emotional maturity.
Okay.
Yeah. It shows you're willing to lose something, maybe the relationship itself, or maybe just the idea of it, to protect something far more fundamental.
Hmm.
Your peace, your emotional stability, your self-worth.
So why do you think so many people don't dare to cut ties, even when it's clear they're suffering? Is it still loving the person, regretting the time invested, fear of being alone, or maybe feeling like, well, I gave them so many chances, I have to see it through?
The video suggests these fears often come from, well, misunderstandings that link love with enduring hardship. Like, we somehow believe that staying in suffering proves how much we love them or how committed we are.
Like suffering equals love.
Exactly. And not daring to finally say enough is identified as the root cause of gradually losing yourself, especially if you're with someone who doesn't truly value you, doesn't listen, or just has no real intention of changing. The key insight is this. Someone who truly loves themselves won't allow these things to happen repeatedly. They might have given chances, sure. They might have cried, endured way past their limits. But when they finally truly see that their efforts mean nothing to the other person, they won't hesitate anymore. They step back.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, the act of cutting ties is directly related to self-love. People who don't love themselves enough, they tend to allow the repeated harm. They forgive without seeing real change. They stay stuck in these exhausting cycles.
That's exactly it. And the video offers such a poignant shift in perspective for those who finally make that choice for themselves. It says someone who truly loves themselves starts to realize, okay, being alone might be lonely, but I won't be crying because of someone every single day.
Wow.
And not having someone might feel empty for a while, but I won't feel destroyed from the inside out.
That's powerful.
It really is. The emphasis is so clear. Not giving someone another chance isn't being cruel. It's telling yourself that you have tried enough. It's like you're finally choosing your own worth over those empty apologies and hollow promises. It's a brave, brave act of reclaiming your inner peace.
So we've talked about that courage to walk away, but
Yeah.
before we get to that piece, we need to understand why it often takes so long. There's a particular kind of pain, isn't there, when someone hurts you, not just once, but again.
Oh, yes.
The video really breaks this down. It says the first heartbreak.
Oh.
Well, it's often unexpected. It comes from innocence, maybe misplaced trust. It's the shock of realizing, wow, I misjudged this.
Right. The element of surprise is there, but the second heartbreak is different. It doesn't come from ignorance. It comes from knowing.
Knowing.
We knew they had hurt us before. We remember every word, every action that made us feel small or broken. And yet, we still chose to give them another chance. We bet on hope, maybe? Believe things could change, or maybe we thought we could handle it better this time?
And this is where it gets so incredibly painful, right? The source says, when the pain returns in the same form, from the same person, with the same behavior, the feeling isn't just sadness, it's disappointment in ourselves.
Exactly.
It's almost like you did it to yourself, in a way.
Yeah.
Because you had the information and you chose to override it.
Absolutely. And that creates this really complex mix of feelings. Anger at them, sure, of course, but also anger at ourselves. You're sad they didn't change, but you're also profoundly sad and frustrated that we still believe they would. You might feel foolish or stubborn for taking a risk you probably knew deep down was likely to blow up again.
Yeah.
The video really emphasizes this. This feeling hurts deeper than the first time because this time we can't tell ourselves we didn't know. That shield of ignorance is gone. You're left facing your own choices, your own hope, maybe your own stubbornness.
This often describes a certain kind of person too, doesn't it? The ones who give second chances and get burned again.
Yeah.
They're often, tender-hearted, hopeful, faithful in love. They see the good in people.
Very much so.
They don't want relationships to just end easily. They believe in second chances because they get that people make mistakes.
That's exactly right. They see potential, maybe even when there's no real evidence for it. But the really tough lesson from that second hurt, the source suggests, is that true love isn't enduring pain. It's not about repeatedly forgiving someone who shows no real intention to change.
Okay.
It forces you to confront a deeper truth. Giving another chance isn't just about your willingness to be gracious. It's also about carefully observing the other person's actions and their real intent. Is their change actually benefiting the relationship, or is it just, self-serving for them in that moment?
So the key takeaway here is really striking. The lesson from the second heartbreak might not just be don't give another chance. It might go deeper. It might be love yourself enough not to use pain to prove whether that person should be in your life.
Yes, that's it.
Wow. A relationship that requires tears for another chance, that requires you to keep experiencing hurt. It's just not worth holding on to.
It's a massive wake-up call. And the video offers some comfort here, too, saying the second heartbreak isn't shameful. It's not something to beat yourself up about forever.
Right.
It's like a mirror. It shows you why you endured, why you believed, why you went back. It's a transformative experience, painful as hell, but it ultimately forces you to become stronger, more discerning, more committed to your own well-being. It teaches you, finally, to close those doors that needed closing.
And this brings us full circle, really, to the ultimate choice. That profound act of choosing peace. The video puts it so beautifully. Walking away is choosing peace. It's not running away. It's not losing. It's not surrender. It's choosing to protect your own heart. It's that decisive moment, taking a stand, saying, enough.
That's precisely it. It means consciously, intentionally pulling yourself out of those emotionally draining situations, effectively closing the door on that recurring turmoil. And the peace you gain, it's not just, quiet outside. It's deep inner quiet, a lightness, a stillness, that internal stability that was just gone while you were stuck in that dynamic. It's the peace of not having to be constantly vigilant.
I can just picture that feeling. It's freedom, isn't it? Freedom from waiting, from hoping against hope, from being scared, from constantly trying to decode someone's mixed signals or inconsistent behavior.
Yes.
Just no longer being completely exhausted by the uncertainty.
Yeah.
By trying to make sense of something that fundamentally doesn't make sense anymore.
And yet the video points out that common fear that holds so many back. The fear of silence, the fear of being alone, the fear of what will my life be like without them?
That's a big one.
It is, but it challenges that belief so powerfully, reminding us. But what many don't realize is that sometimes having them present doesn't mean we're happy.
Oof, yeah.
Think about it, a relationship where you have to force smiles, force conversation, or just constantly endure things to stop it from falling apart. That slowly kills your inner peace anyway.
The source describes this so vividly. It says something like, you might not cry every day, but your heart is so stifled you can barely breathe.
Exactly.
Just waking up sometimes, knowing they haven't changed, knowing you're going to face the same draining dynamic all over again. That's its own kind of quiet suffering, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And walking away from such situations is telling yourself that you won't trade your inner peace to keep someone who doesn't genuinely want to be there. That's a core truth here. Love should include peace. It should include respect, stability. If you're constantly on edge, exhausted, trying to keep someone around, that's just not a space where your heart can actually grow or find any real rest.
So what's the bottom line here? Walking away it's about facing some hard truths, maybe.
Right.
We can't change someone who doesn't want to change.
Nope.
We can't love for them if they don't love themselves enough to care for the relationship. And we definitely can't be truly happy if we feel completely alone, even when they're right there next to us.
It's the ultimate gift you can give yourself. Walking away is the beginning of listening to your own heart again, truly listening. It's about finally recognizing what you need, what you deserve, and what you are no longer willing to compromise on. Even if love is still there, undeniably, if that love consistently brings you harm, choosing to leave is. It's an acceptance that you love yourself enough not to stay in repeated pain.
It makes me think about how many people stay in toxic situations because they fear loneliness more than the actual pain of staying. But like the video says, in reality, the silence of being alone hurts less than the silence in your heart when you're with someone who doesn't understand you at all.
So true. Ultimately, walking away isn't a loss. It's a return to what you should have had from the beginning. True peace within your own heart. It's that courageous act of reclaiming what is most valuable. #tag outro.
Wow. What a journey we've taken today. We've really dug into the layers of forgiveness, haven't we? Understanding it's a gift for you, not a free pass for others.
Right, for your own release.
We've seen how apologies without real transformative action are basically meaningless, empty words.
Actions speak louder.
We talked about how true self-love often means having the guts to set boundaries, and sometimes the immense courage to just walk away.
That courage is key.
Acknowledging that the second heartbreak, while devastating, often holds the deepest, hardest, but maybe most powerful lessons about our own worth.
Those lessons stick.
And finally, realizing that choosing peace, prioritizing your own inner calm, that really is the greatest act of self-care you can possibly give yourself.
It truly is. So maybe as you reflect on all this, just ponder this question. What truly defines your safe space? Is it just having someone else around? Or is it that unwavering peace you find and cultivate within yourself?
That's a great question to sit with. What stands out to you from today's deep dive? Take a moment, let these ideas settle, and think about what they mean for your own path.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into what it means to forgive and when it's time to bravely choose yourself. We'll see you on the next deep dive.